Okay. So it's been quite a long time since I did one of these live streams, and I almost can't remember how to do it. So we'll see how we go. Uh, I've kind of put off doing another one of these Q&As because of the time difference. I'm based in Cyprus. Probably 80% of the people who subscribe to my YouTube channel are in the States. So there's a huge time difference. But anyway, I thought I'd throw it out here. So what's going to happen today for the next 30 minutes or so? Any questions you've got about alcohol, about quitting drinking, moderating drinking, prescription medication to help you with your drinking. I'll give you the big disclaimer right here up front. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not here to give you medical advice. And if I say anything during this live webcast that contradicts what your doctor has said to you, go with your doctor every time. What I am is a former problem drinker who found his way out of the loop. And what I do these days is I travel around the world and I help people to replicate the journey that I took. That's pretty much what I do. So got a high Dassault sitting watching the channel drinking right now. It's common, Dassault, because we us problem drinkers, we tend to think that alcohol is the solution to all our problems and we can't be happy unless alcohol is in our life. But then actually we start drinking and we just feel miserable. And so it's common that people sit drinking watching my channel, but you're very welcome anyway. James is here. James says he's scared to deal with problems. James, do you mean you're scared to deal with your drinking problem, or you're scared that if you deal with your drinking, you won't be able to cope with the pressures of life? Just give me some clarification on that. A couple of things I wanted to talk about, because I'm seeing it a lot on the YouTube channel, is how do you deal with a drinker in your life? I get a lot of people leaving comments saying, my dad is an alcoholic, my mom's a heavy drinker, my husband, my wife, and so on, so on. They're killing themselves. How do I make them stop? Because it's horrible to watch them. And this is probably the toughest question I get asked, because it's the only question really that I ever get asked where I don't have a great answer. I don't have something that I know is going to immediately solve the problem, because here is the harsh reality. You can't change other people, and only they can change themselves. You can lead by example, you can be there to support them, but you can't change them. And if they're not at the point where they want to deal with this problem for themselves, almost no matter what you do at this point is going to make no difference. They're in their own little bubble. And the most important thing you can do if you have a drinker in your life is protect yourself. And that might sound selfish, but actually people who are dealing with problem drinkers in their lives very rarely look after themselves. They're too busy and too focused on trying to help their loved one that they actually forget to look after their own mental and emotional health. Look after yourself. Protect yourself. That's the most important thing you do. Hi to Scrap. Hi, love your videos. Struggling with alcoholism, watching your videos, you're helping me. Greetings from Mexico. Hello, Mexico. If you have any questions about alcohol, now is the time to ask, because I'm here to answer anything you want. Is there anything that you're worried about? Is there anything that concerns you about quitting drinking? Or are you still at the point where you want to moderate your drinking? Ask me anything you want. The other thing I wanted to talk about today is medication for alcohol problems. Because a lot of people are looking for a silver bullet. They're looking for this one magic thing that is going to take their problem away. And I get that, because it is the default human way of dealing with things. We always want to take the path of least resistance. And in this day and age, we assume that there must be some sort of tablet we can take that'll just magically make all this go away. And if you've read the book Alcohol Lied to Me, or if you've come to Quit Drinking Boot Camp or done my online course, you will know that I don't advocate taking medication to solve drinking problems. And this upsets people because people get very angry. They say, well, I've been taking naltrexone for 9 months and it's completely saved my life. Or I've been taking antabuse for the last 5 years and without it, I'd be dead by now. And people get very angry. And I get that as well, because if it worked for you, then obviously you're going to be a big fan of it. The main point I'm making is I tried it and it didn't work for me. I tried antabuse and it nearly killed me. I tried naltrexone, it didn't work. And I believe the reason it didn't work is manifold, but predominantly we're drinking for a reason. Nobody's really drinking because they just like to drink. 9 out of 10 times, people who come to one of my Quit Drinking boot camps are drinking to deal with some sort of emotional pain. Maybe they're lonely, or they're bored, or they're in a job they hate, or they're in a relationship that just doesn't work anymore, or they're just in the wrong place in their life, or they have trauma from childhood that they've not dealt with. People are drinking to deal with a problem generally. So then if you take a tablet like antabuse, which makes you allergic to alcohol, okay, you might not be able to drink, but you haven't dealt with the problem that was there in the first place. And so now you're twice as miserable because A, you've got the big problem, and B, you haven't got the anesthetic that you've been using to make it go away. And so I think for most people, taking a tablet isn't the solution because it doesn't really address the reason why you're drinking in the first place. I'll talk more about this later. I'm just conscious that my screen is filling up with people and I'm being very rude and not saying hello to people. Holly D. Hi, Holly D. Hi, Craig. Stopped and then started because of anxiety. I don't know how to stop the anxiety. I hear this a lot, Holly. Now, the thing that you must know about alcohol is alcohol doesn't help with anxiety. It actually creates more anxiety. And I'm sure you've heard this before. I'm sure I'm not telling you anything shocking or new. You're kind of focusing on the short-term problem. You're feeling anxious, and if you drink an anesthetic, it goes away, I'm guessing. But the problem is it doesn't go away. You just hit the pause button. So now that little bout of anxiety that you got, Holly, that you made go away with alcohol, you've still got to go through that. That's coming later down the road, but now it's going to be bigger because you also took a drug that gives you a withdrawal sensation. So actually, it appears that alcohol helps with your anxiety, but it's actually just amplifying your anxiety and giving you more to deal with. You have to deal with the source of this problem, and alcohol is not the solution. And you can spend the rest of your life trapped in this loop where you drink to try and help with anxiety, but then end up with more anxiety and you're in a complete loop. You've got to attack this area of your life that is causing you a problem. Go and see your doctor, go and see a therapist, and work out where this anxiety is coming from. The only thing alcohol is doing for you at the moment, Holly, is pausing your life. And you'll stay paused as long as you keep drinking the attractively packaged poison. I hope that helps. I know it's complicated. Let me see. Let's say hello to a few people. Hi, Michael. Michael Quinn is here. I have problems with family and friends when I say I don't drink. I feel like I'm an outcast. I've been off alcohol for 10 months, still waiting to feel great. Yeah. I know what you mean. The thing is, Michael, you can't take alcohol out of your life and expect nothing to change. Stuff has to change because you're no longer drinking the poison. You no longer fit into that envelope. And for me personally, I used to be a very sociable guy. I had hundreds of friends, although they weren't really friends. They were just people who liked to do the same drug as me. I was always out drinking every night, and people would have described me as the life and soul of the party. And I can't do that sober because it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. When I go to a party, a couple of things happen. A, I don't go to as many parties as I used to because I don't want to. And B, when I do go to a party, I don't stay as long as I used to. When I was drinking, I'd be walking home at 3 a.m. I'm gone by 11 generally, at the point where everyone starts talking nonsense, when people start telling the same stories over and over again, when really intelligent people I respect and admire become nothing more than a shaved chimpanzee and talking absolute garbage. At that point, I think this is really boring, and I leave. And so, Michael, you don't have to fit in with the people who are choosing to drink poison and make themselves stupid. You have risen above that. Don't beat yourself up because you no longer fit in to that bracket of drinking to be stupid. You need to find your own rules. Stop trying to obey the rules of other people. You must drink, otherwise you're boring. You must do this, otherwise you're no fun to be around. Bollocks to that. Do what you want. Do what you feel is right. Stay as long as you want at a party. Don't go if you think it's going to be dull. You got to own this and be proud of it and make it a part of you. I hope that helps, Michael. Letitia. Letitia Phillips is here. Let's say hello to a few people before we go into Frank Garner. Hi, Frank. David Lee. Who else we got here? James Stephen Williams. Hi, Stephen. Brian. Welcome, Brian. Sushi Smith. Cool name. Mortaba, is that right? Have I said that right? Bullet Russell's here. Holly D, you're welcome. B Dom. Okay. Lauren and Christina Diaz as well. Tina, welcome, Tina. Miss Girl. All right. So, sorry if this has just kind of popped up on your feed. I didn't announce it. I didn't plan it. I just thought, you know what? I've not done one of these in a while. So let's just do it. Let's have a look at what else we got coming up here. Okay, Letitia says, I wanted to moderate my drinking, and I went to the doctor, and my AST and ALT numbers were extremely high. So these are the two numbers that they use to analyze liver function. But I still have that voice in the back of my head saying that once I get them back down, then I will be fine. Yeah, I understand this, Letitia. The boot camp I talk about when I got this pain in my side. And for about 3 months, I tried to ignore it. I considered anything other than considering it might be my drinking. And I didn't go to the doctor for months and months and months, not because I wasn't worried. I was terrified, if the truth be known. I didn't go to the doctor because I was scared he would confirm it was my drinking and then he would tell me to stop. How insane is that? I actually thought, I was going to die. I thought I had something fatal, and I would rather live in the denial of being worried but having no doctor's confirmation than actually go to the doctor and start investigating whether I could get well. That's the power of this drug. And, when I did go to the doctor, I still half expected him to say, oh, it's nothing, don't worry. Because that's what always happened when I went to the doctors. I never had anything wrong with me. And then when I went about this pain in my side, the doctor said to me, Mr. Beck, there is a chance there is something very seriously wrong with you. I couldn't believe it. He said, I'm sending you to the hospital to see a consultant. And they started to do tests on my liver. And like you, my numbers were very high. And so I stopped drinking. And I felt so guilty, so bad about myself, not because of what I was doing to myself, but because I was going to be the sort of man that made his own children go to his funeral because I couldn't stop drinking this poison in a bottle. I felt so ashamed. So I stopped drinking for about 3 weeks. And even with a death sentence hanging over my head, Letitia, I still went back to drinking. So I know where you're coming from. And let me tell you, the reason you feel like that is because your programming in your subconscious mind is broken around alcohol. Letitia, I'm guessing you don't use heroin. And even if I spent an hour trying to persuade you to inject a needle into your arm and take some heroin, I doubt I could convince you. And the reason for that is your programming around heroin is perfect. At a subconscious level, you believe that heroin is very bad for you. There's no benefit to it. It's horrible, terrible stuff. It will destroy your life. You believe all this firmly, as much as you believe in the law of gravity. The difference is, the reason you want to go back to drinking is that you have some broken programs in your head. Your thinking, your belief structure is out of place around alcohol. It's perfectly aligned around heroin. It's out of place and misaligned around alcohol. And that's why using willpower, going cold turkey and trying to force yourself to stay away from alcohol never works. Well, rarely works, like 5% of the time it works. And that's why I encourage people to come to a boot camp with me or do the online course, because I take you through a very specific process of how you get out of the loop of alcoholism without using willpower, without having to force yourself to be a good girl or a good boy. Hope that helps. Thank you very much, Letitia. Gerard Westhuizen. Cool name, Gerard. Craig, this would be very cool if you get this. Watch some of your videos. Not wanted to drink since January 2019. Nice. Please know for a fact that you changed one person's entire future. Thank you, Gerard. That's amazing. James, what are your thoughts on Kratom? I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to say anything because I'm 45 now. And sometimes I get really convinced I've remembered something, and then it turns out I haven't. So I think I know what that is, but I'm not going to embarrass myself by going into a big spiel about it. James, I'll get back to you on that. Let's see what else we got here. By the way, thank you, James. It's very kind of you to say. Lauren Ringgold, how do you deal with all the ambition after you quit? I want to do so much. I end up messing up because I'm like overwhelmed. Okay, I think I understand, Lauren. And that just really sounds like a good old fear of success. You see, one of the things I talk about in my book, Unleashed from Alcohol, is how obviously as human beings, we all want to stay in our comfort zone because it's warm and it's cozy and it's safe and we're not afraid. It's a beautiful, lovely, warm place. But it's barren. Nothing grows there. And the truth is, your comfort zone wants to kill you. And the other problem is that all your friends and family and all the people that love you, they don't want you to push out of your comfort zone. They want you to stay in your comfort zone. You know, and I know this from myself. If my children rang me, I've grown-up children now. My daughter's 18, my son's 22. If my daughter rang me and said, Dad, I've got 2 job options. One, it's kind of boring, but it pays well. They give you a pension, and it's, you know, it's just an office job, and it's pretty safe but boring. But I think I'll have a good career with it. And option 2, the money's really good, but it's very, very dangerous. I'm going to have to expose myself to a lot of risk. I'm going to have to travel around the world, go to danger zones and do dangerous things and expose myself. And well, you know, it could go wrong, Dad, but it will be exciting and rewarding. And as a father, I'm thinking, do the safe one. Do the safe one. And that's not because in that moment I'm acting in her best interest. I'm acting selfishly in my best interest because I don't want my daughter at risk. I don't want her to leave me. I don't want to lose her. And so my default position is to push her into her comfort zone. And that is exactly what is happening with you. You know, your ego wants you in your comfort zone because it's safe. And if you step out of that comfort zone, what if you succeed? That's scary, isn't it? What if you take a risk and it goes well? Then you're going to have to do it again, and then you're going to have to do it again, and then you have to do it. It's scary, isn't it? Scary to take risks and go after your dreams. Terrifying sometimes. You have to expose yourself to rejection and humiliation and embarrassment and disappointment and all those horrible things. Isn't it so much easier just to stay where you are in your comfort zone? But nobody ever gets to the end of their life and says, well, I'm so glad I didn't take any risks at all. I'm so glad that I just stayed in the same job all my career right through to the end. It's rarely what happens. So it's just a pure old basic fear of success. And I encourage you to smash through those barriers of fear. And it's something I've had to work on with myself. And now I have a little motto that I say to myself. If I'm afraid of something, then I say to myself, well, now you have to do it. And that's pushed me into some very difficult situations, but my God, has it made me grow over the years. Christian Galtsev, is that right? Currently 10 days sober. Big thanks to Craig and Alcohol Lied to Me ebook. I was wondering if I should still serve alcohol at parties like my birthday and so forth. Great question, Christian. It depends when your birthday is. If it's next week, I would say no. You need to be at the point where you think about alcohol the same way as you think about sniffing glue or doing heroin. It's just so repugnant to you that the thought of it you can't understand how you ever drank it. It's like for me now, downstairs in the kitchen, my wife has a bottle of white wine in the fridge. It's been there for about 6 months. She cooks with it occasionally. And maybe 3-4 times a year, my wife will buy a bottle of beer or one of those miniature bottles of wine. She'll put it in the fridge and she'll have herself a glass of beer or a glass of wine. Not once have I ever opened the refrigerator and gone, oh, shall I have a drink? And that's because I'm at the point where it's nothing to me. You know, it's not in my field of vision anymore. It just doesn't occur to me that I would drink that stuff. If you're 10 days away from drinking, you're still within the kick. So you're still in quite a sensitive period of this process. And I would argue that at the moment, if it's your birthday next week, it's too soon. So in the future, when you're 3, 6, 12 months free of alcohol and you're feeling strong and you are 100% certain of your belief structure around this drug, then you can serve it to your friends, you can have parties and have it in the house, and it just doesn't bother you. At the moment, too sensitive, stay away from it. Hope that helps. Oh my, who else we got here? Tina, hi Tina. Thank you for your video on book recommendations. Alcohol Explained by William Porter just arrived yesterday. I've already read This Naked Mind a year ago. Your book next, thank you. Tina, Alcohol Explained is awesome. It's really good. Such a logical book. I absolutely love it. I'll tell you a little secret. William Porter is a pen name. It's not his real name, because the author of that book emailed me from their real account with their real name saying thanks for the mention. I won't out him or her. I'm not sure. It's one of those names that could go either way. But William Porter is a pen name. What we got here? Hi, Sanctus. You're at the right channel. Thank you for joining us. Sanctus, if you want to take some action, go to my website, stopdrinkingexpert.com, and join today's webinar. You have to take the first step. I understand you're in a very painful place at the moment, and you're doing the right thing by being here, but take the next step. Richard, what about people who can maintain how they drink and still live life without it destroying their life? Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Richard. Those goody two shoes type people who can just have one drink and then leave it. Aren't they annoying? My wife's like that. My wife can have one glass of wine every 3 months. So annoying. The thing is, we're all different. We're all unique. And I suspect, Richard, that when you and me drink alcohol, it lights our brain up like a Christmas tree. It just goes. And people like my wife and people who don't have a problem with alcohol, they get a smaller reaction. So they'd have to drink vast quantities to get that explosion of euphoria. And a lot of people never really quite get used to the taste of it. Don't forget, alcohol tastes disgusting. You know, if you throw a load of fruit into a bucket and let it rot, the pus, the discharge that leaks out of the rotting vegetable matter is alcohol. It tastes vile. If you want to know how it tastes, go to one of those, hand sanitizers you see in the washroom and lick it. It's disgusting. And a lot of people never quite get used to that. They drink it and it's all right. And they do it because they're socializing and they kind of like it takes away their social anxiety, but they never quite get used to the horrible taste. And so it just doesn't manage to get a foothold in their life. And other people, Richard, are slightly allergic to alcohol. You see this particularly with Asian people. A lot of Chinese people get something called Asian blush. And if they drink alcohol, you'll see their cheeks go bright red and they sweat a lot. And it's because Asian people can be genetically allergic to alcohol. So their liver doesn't process the ethanol, the poison, properly. You and I, we have very powerful livers that are very good at processing the ethanol into acetaldehyde and saving our life. Whereas Asian people who are allergic to alcohol, their liver doesn't work as well with the processing the alcohol, and they start to get quite a violent response to it as though they've been poisoned. And of course, they have been poisoned. So the answer is, we're all different. We all respond differently to alcohol. We can't aspire to be like these other people because it's just not possible. It's not the way our body and mind is made. So you might as well just forget it. It's not something we can work hard to achieve, because why would you want to? Why would you want to get a point where you could have one glass of poison every now and again? Okay. Ronnie says alcohol tastes like shit. Yeah. Let me see what else we got here. This is Simon. I've been clean for a week now. How do you deal with stressful moments? They're rare, but can cause relapse easily. True. There are lots of things that can cause relapse. Stress, anxiety, depression, bad day at the office, grief, somebody dies, debt. You get home from work and there's a huge bill waiting for you. All this sort of stuff can cause relapse. And it's in a boot camp and in the online course, I talk about the 4 things. It would take me too long. It would take me like an hour to talk you through them. But you have to have a new way of responding to stress. What you can't do is nothing. Because in the past, you dealt with stress by drinking. You took an anesthetic and the problem seemed to go away, although it didn't really. So if you take the alcohol away and you don't replace it with something and you have one of those stressful moments, then it's super hard because you can't use the solution you want to use and you still got the stressful situation. And so you kind of get trapped into a loop. You must replace the alcohol with something else. But that's kind of a whole video in itself. So what I'll do is I'll make a note and I'll make a video all about that. I hope that helps kind of. I know it's not a full answer. What else we got here? Marky, hi Marky. I get very sensitive feelings. I think you mean feelings, do you? I've got very sensitive feelings, and they trigger my panic attacks. Yeah, I understand. We spoke about this at the start of the webcast, Marky. Alcohol only appears to help panic attacks because it's a mild sedative. Actually, it makes your panic attacks worse in the long run. There are some videos I've made about this. I won't talk about it again because we did it kind of earlier in the webcast, but it's an illusion. You currently believe it helps. It's an illusion. It's not really helping. If you've just joined the video, by the way, this was kind of just an impromptu thing. I thought, I've got a little bit of time, so I'll sit down and do a live Ask Me Anything session. I haven't done one in a long time. And so if you do have any questions, please feel free to post them up, and I'll do my best to answer them. Let's see. Thank you, Simon. Okay, what do you say to people who pressure you to go to AA when they've never been to a meeting and don't know what it's like, and it does not work for everyone? Yeah, you see, this is a weird situation we have with this drug, because with pretty much any other medical problem, we have reasonable paths to take. If I broke my arm and I came up to you and said, I've broken my arm, you would be reasonably confident you could give me some good advice, wouldn't you? You'd say, you need to go to the accident and emergency room. I'll take you there and they'll fix it. And you would be 99% certain that I was going to come out of the hospital with a fixed arm, correct? Now, the problem with alcoholism is we only have one well-known solution, and it's called AA. And it has something like an 8% success rate. And that makes people panic a little bit, because we've only got this one solution and that we can't think of anything else. And so we have to go to AA and hope and pray that it works. And I know you're thinking, no, there's more than AA, there's rehab or private therapy. But you see, rehab is just AA with some prescription medication. You go to rehab and they charge you $1,000 a day. They give you some drugs to get you through the withdrawal. They supervise you with the doctor. And then guess what? You start on the 12-step program. It's the same as AA, but you're paying $1,000 a day for it. The other problem is that there's this kind of cultish mentality around AA. And I get it. I get a lot of abuse from AA members because they say that it's the only way, and they've been sober for 25 years, and how dare I criticize this wonderful organization, and I should be ashamed of myself, and so on and so on. And I don't say don't go to AA. Go to AA if you want, but I don't understand why it has to be the default. If the default solution to a broken arm had an 8% success rate, how many people would recommend it? Not many. If you broke your arm and you went to the doctor and said, this is agony, and he said, well, I've only got one solution and there's a 92% chance that you're going to lose the arm, would you go through with it, or would you find another way? So that's my problem with AA. And the reason I'm negative about it is just purely because it didn't work for me. The first time I went to AA and I listened to all these terrible stories being told. This guy over here was drinking 2 bottles of vodka a day. This woman here she'd just been given 3 months to live. This guy over here was beating his wife up every night because of his drinking. And I sat there thinking, my drinking's all right, actually. In fact, I think I'll probably drink a bit more. True story. I left my first AA meeting and bought a bottle of whiskey on the way home because I thought, I've got a way to go. I'm all right. Of course, it didn't work out, and I ended up going back to AA for a second go. And the guy leading it, he said to me, He said, we followed the 12 steps here. And, you got to fight, give your problem to a higher power, give your problem to God, and God will help you. And I started thinking, well, what if you're an atheist? What if you don't believe in anything spiritual? What if you're one of those people that believes when you're dead, you're dead? And you go to AA and someone says to you, give your problem to God. It's pretty much game over, isn't it? From the first session. Now, of course, as I say at boot camp, if you're a religious person and you go to AA and they say God's going to help you, you're going to love it, aren't you? You're going to go, oh wow, yes, I believe it. And AA for you is going to be amazing until you drink. And then you're going to say, why does God hate me? God must want to punish me because he didn't help me. And at that point, AA is broken for you too. And I think that's why it has an 8% success rate. So you can use some of those arguments if you want. But probably the easier to say is that I've found an alternative therapy. And then just don't talk about it. Just say you're going to see a therapist. You don't want to do AA, but you found something else. That should stop them pushing so hard. I mean, it'd have to be a pretty anal individual who was so specific. No, it must be AA. I won't accept anything else. So hopefully that helps. David Lopez, is exercise a good way to release stress? Oh my God, yes. Absolutely. And I firmly believe that movement is medicine. And I try and go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week because I notice that when I stop doing that, if I'm traveling and I haven't been to the gym for a few days, I notice my mood come down. I notice I start to get really despondent at times and I get tired and I get irritable. If I'm exercising, it really lifts my mental state. I absolutely 100% back it and support that notion. Yeah. Hi, Tina. Thank you for joining me, Tina. AA is not for me. With you, Tina. AA is great for others. Yeah, for some people it's amazing. Some people love it, and fair enough. What else we got here? Lisa, this is a really common one. Lisa, hi Craig, since I stopped drinking, I can't stop eating. Please help. Yeah, this is really common, Lisa. How long have you been quit for? How long have you been sober? It does settle down. Unless you're like me and you get married again and your wife thinks that food is love. And she cooks, my wife will cook a meal for about 8 people. There's only 2 of us in the house. She thinks food is love. But no, seriously, when you stop drinking, this happened to me because I never had a sweet tooth. I was always a savory guy, give me a sandwich over a cake anytime. But when I stopped drinking, the craziest thing happened. I was basically mainlining Haribo. I was buying bags of Haribo. I couldn't get enough of the stuff. And I think the reason for this is your body is used to having liquid fuel constantly in your system. Because alcohol is poison, but it has calorific value to it, as in if you light it, it burns, it has energy within it. But it's a poison, so your body can't store it. Why would it want to store poison? So if you have alcohol in your system, it has to be burnt first. So this means if you've had a 3-course meal and a bottle of wine, the 3-course meal is going to stay in your stomach and go on your hips and your ass and your belly, and the alcohol will get burnt first. Now, when you stop drinking, your body's in shock because this huge source of fuel has just suddenly disappeared overnight. And your body doesn't understand what's happened. It feels like there's a famine. Like something has dramatically changed. Something has gone badly wrong because the fuel we were burning has suddenly dried up. And so your brain, your central nervous system, sends out the wrong message. It misinterprets what's going on. And it says, quick, sugar, 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 sugar. And so you get the urge to eat sweets and cakes and tasty things like that. And some people quit drinking and actually end up putting weight on because of this. Exercise is really helpful in this situation. If you've quit drinking and you're finding you're putting weight on or you're not losing weight, if you just pump up the exercise or reintroduce exercise, it will really help. But the most important thing, Lisa, 3 weeks. Thank you. You've been quit for 3 weeks. All right. You see, you're still a baby at this. Everything settles down. This is not going to be forever. This is your body adjusting. It spend a lot of time, years, maybe decades, getting used to the way you've been living with that liquid poison in your system. Now it's got to readapt to life without poison in your system. So you're going through an adjustment period, and it's different for everyone. I had a guy from Texas last year going crazy with me because he'd been 3 months sober and was still not sleeping at night. He said, "Craig, you told me that when I quit drinking, my sleep would improve." And I said, "Yeah, it will." He said, "Well, it's been 3 months." And I said, "Yeah, but this doesn't work to your timetable. The benefits in my life since I quit drinking, some of them have taken 5 years to arrive. Some of them arrive really quickly. Like within 1 month, Lisa, my blood pressure went to normal from high. I've been hypertensive for about 10 years. I went from hypertension to normal in 1 month when I quit drinking. My sleep apnea stopped around roughly the same time. That pain in my side I had went after 3 months, never came back. So some things came quickly and other things took a little bit longer. So you're in a period of adjustment. Trust me on this. It'll get better. Your body will get used to it and the cravings will die down. All right. It just takes a bit of effort in the short term. I'm going to wrap up fairly soon because we're on 41 minutes, but let's see if I can do another couple. This is motivating me to exercise now. Yay. Take sleeping pills. Look, I'm a bit negative about medication because it strikes me that there's very little medicine out there that doesn't have big consequences. It seems to me that if you take medicine to deal with this problem, the byproduct is you get this problem. And it's ridiculous. We know there are certain tablets you take for breast cancer that are known to cause prostate cancer. We rave about medical science and how much we've progressed. I'm not so sure myself, This is why I'm not a big fan of taking tablets to help with alcohol addiction, things like naltrexone, Camprel, and Antabuse, because you're putting poison into your body. And I don't care what the medicine is, and I don't care how many doctors stamp it as safe. It strikes me there is always a price to be paid. So sleeping tablets, who knows what that's doing to you? There are better ways, herbal ways and routines, and making sure that your bedroom is a sleep-friendly zone, so that it's super dark, it's the right temperature. You don't have a TV in your bedroom. That's just rule, number one. You don't look at your phone an hour before you go to bed. You don't drink caffeine in the, after kind of 3 p.m. There's so many things you can do before you get to the point where you say, I have to take a sleeping tablet. Let's have a look. Sketch says, my sleep apnea took almost 2 years to go away. Yeah, different for everyone, Sketch. But it went away. That's the good thing. Marky, I drink natural teas and vitamins to help me sleep. Fantastic. Drinking every week 2 times. Is it a problem? I get a lot of emails from people describing their drinking behavior and asking, is this a problem? I got one yesterday from a guy who said, I drink a bottle of wine every day. Do I have a problem? Look, it's never about the quantity. It's never about your drinking compared to someone else's drinking. There is only one rule as to whether you have a problem with alcohol or not, and it is this: is your drinking making you miserable? And if the answer is yes, then you've got a problem. At Quit Drinking Boot Camp in San Francisco, a guy came along. He was 70 years old, And I go around and I ask people to talk about themselves a little bit at the start of the boot camp. And I went to this guy and I said, "Tell me about yourself." He said, "Well, I've been drinking a single miniature of vodka every night for the last 30 years." A single miniature of vodka, like 5 milliliters or whatever they are. And I said, "And you come to quit drinking boot camp?" I said, "Why are you here?" He said, "Because it makes me miserable." He said, "I hate it." He said, "I am so in control of my life. I love my life. And yet every night, no matter what I do, I have to open that bottle of vodka and sit and drink it." And he said, "I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I want it to stop." And that's the yardstick. If it's making you miserable, if you wake up in the morning full of guilt and regret because you drank again and you promised you wouldn't, if you're letting people down because you're choosing to drink instead of being with them or complying with their obligations and things like that, then you have a problem. But it's never about the quantity. That's why when I went to AA for the first time, and I was drinking 2 bottles of wine a night, and I went to AA, and the people were telling me they were drinking 2 bottles of vodka a day. I was like, wow, I'm a saint. I've got nothing to worry about. So it's not about the quantity. Ronnie, I'm going to get a Craig Beck haircut as I'm sick of my ponytail. Ronnie, you know what? Getting my haircut is such an inconvenience. I can't stand it. If I went bald, I don't think I'd even be bothered. I'm not really, I get it cut when I absolutely have to. Thank you, Ronnie. Let me see what that looks like. Lisa, thank you. I've been watching your videos every day for 3 weeks. I'm amazed with everything you say. I will keep going. I'm 3/4 of the way through your book, Alcohol Lied to Me. Thank you, Lisa. Don't forget to leave a review of it. Let's see what else we got here. Last couple. Sudip Gupta, does talking, counseling others help? Do you mean getting counseling for yourself or helping other people to stop drinking? Because I think probably both help. I'm the fact that I help so many people has certainly helped me. It's kept me on the straight and narrow in difficult times. We all go through hardship in life, and sometimes really hard times, don't we? We had a couple of deaths in our family over the last couple of years, and some of them were very painful. And certainly, the way my life has become helping other people to quit drinking has been a source of strength for me as well in my own quest to stay sober. The only thing I'll say to you, Sudip, is don't go around being a preacher. Don't try and force this onto people, because you're going to get abuse and you're going to lose friends, because drinkers don't want to hear this. And they'll get quite aggressive and nasty with you. You don't want to become one of those reformed drinkers that comes into the room and sucks the fun out of the place and tells everyone they're drinking poison. They don't want to hear it. However, if someone comes up to you and notices that you've stopped drinking, and they say to you, "How did you do it?" then by all means, be their mentor. Share with them your stories and what worked for you and what you did. And that can be great for both of you. Everyone wins in that situation, I believe. Do you find that other drugs are a good substitute for alcohol? Not hard drugs, but things like marijuana. The solution to everything in life is never external. Now, I just bought a new boat, so I'm aware that I'm a hypocrite at certain times, and I'm aware that sometimes I buy things to try and make me happy. But what I've learned as I get a bit older is that happiness is never an external event. It's never something you can buy. It's never something that's out there that you can get somehow and bring into your life. Peace and happiness is an internal state. And so I'm tempted to say that if you're stopping drinking and taking up marijuana, You're just finding another way to fill the vacuum, that empty sensation, that feeling that something is missing. You're throwing matchsticks into a volcano. You've just changed to a different brand of matchstick, and you're throwing them into the volcano hoping to fill it up. And you'll never do that, because that empty sensation is there for a reason. It's there to tell you that you're supposed to be doing something. You're supposed to be achieving something. You're here on a mission. You're supposed to be doing it, and you're not currently doing it. So I don't really believe that marijuana is a solution. Not that I have any big, strong stance against it. I think, does amazing things for certain people in medical conditions and all that. But I genuinely think being sober and finding peace within yourself is the best gift that you can give yourself. But you can't do that if you're using drugs, because it just lowers your vibrational state. You're not in the place to be able to make that discovery. Craig, do you think culture influence in alcoholism? Well, yeah. I mean, one of the things I talk about in the Western world is this bubble of unreality. We've created this weird world where we have this diluted poison that makes us ill, that embarrasses us, lets our family down, detracts us from our work, fills us full of guilt and regret, gives us cancer and kills us. We have this poison readily available, and yet we see people who choose not to drink it as weird. That's insane, isn't it? But that's what we've created in the Western world. And it's everywhere. It's portrayed everywhere. I was watching The Sopranos last night, and Tony, who's the main character in the show, my God, he must go through a bottle of whiskey in every episode. And he's portrayed as, the big boss man, the central character, the character everyone loves. And here he is with this, subconscious anchoring to drinking. It's going in. We're seeing this stuff in our TV shows and in the commercials, and, the alcohol industry is spending billions of dollars to research their marketing. This is not an accident. So, yeah, I do believe the culture and the environment we live in has a big impact on the problem of alcohol in our society, and it's getting worse. All right. I'm going to wrap up there because we're approaching an hour, 52 minutes. I only said I'd do half an hour. Let's say hello to Rhubarb and Edward and Rishab. Have I ever smoked? I smoked for 3 weeks in school. I was just trying to show off and be a big man. All right, listen there. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like a free copy of my book, Alcohol Lied to Me, join today's webinar, www.stopdrinkingexpert.com. We've got Quit Drinking Bootcamp coming up in New York. It's sold out for November, I'm afraid, but I've just released a date for March 2020, and also the UK, London, in February next year as well. All the details are at the website, stopdrinkingexpert.com. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you very soon. We'll do another one of these soon, I promise. Thank you.